I think a lot of us have been trying to figure out what this Zelda game is about, and we know we're going to be in the sky, and we know there's going to be also some caves underground, but a lot of people can't figure out why the overworld is so similar to that of Breath of the Wild. In fact, there are videos online of people comparing the two, and they are nearly identical still, with very little changes, so people are trying to figure out what the heck is the big draw for this game. And there's been little hints and secrets sprinkled. I'm sure Nintendo has left trails, and we're trying to all come to a point, but there's one theory that I'm seeing a lot online now, and it's a theory that I actually talked about 3 years ago. If you've seen my recent theories within the last year or so, I talk a lot about there being a second hidden map, whether it be underground or a second map in the sky, and that the pieces of the Sky Island are actually pieces of a second map higher up in the clouds that we just can't see yet. And I still think that maybe one of those could still be the case, but there was also a theory I had in the very beginning before even thinking of a second separate map. Instead, I actually had a theory that Nintendo was going to take this game in a whole different direction, and that was with time travel. I posted this video at the end of June in 2019, so this was 3 years ago. It's kind of crazy, but I can't believe I'm going back to this, because this idea seemed absolutely bizarre at the time, yet it's starting to make more sense. So my idea back then was, what if they used the same overworld map, but this time around they took locations that we know and love from the Breath of the Wild map and warped them back in time. I know you've heard time travel over and over again, but let me actually explain why I'm saying this and show why there's so much evidence for this. So first off, Breath of the Wild was really focused in the past. All the cutscenes and the entire story itself focused on what happened to everybody right before Calamity struck, up until he actually struck and Link was taken down and had to be sent back into the Chamber of Resurrection in order to be revived. Now, Breath of the Wild is set 100 years after Link had failed. But there was actually a big war against the Calamity 10,000 years prior that used the Divine Beast and all the ancient technology, which was super helpful into defeating the Calamity Ganon, but he's able to return again in Breath of the Wild. And we keep hearing about the story of this great battle, and lots of the story of Breath of the Wild continues to look back at that big battle 10,000 years ago. Let me remind you, Zelda is no stranger to time travel. I mean, literally, Ocarina of Time was about going from Child Link to Adult Link. And actually, both Hyrule Warriors games did this same concept. The first Hyrule Warriors brought back places from all over Zelda past. Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, Skyward Sword, it was all here, and brought these places floating in the midst of the brand new Hyrule we got in Hyrule Warriors. So what if we actually got a lot of these locations brought back? Why am I saying this, and how could this happen? We just got this brand new Zelda ad of the Master Sword from Famitsu. The right text reads, "The Master Sword corrupted," which we can obviously see it's corrupted, and it even corrupts Link's arm. That's why he has to get the new Zonai arm or whatever that dragon arm is. But the small text at the left reads, "In the new title, its appearance will undergo a major transformation." And below it is the history of the Master Sword, showing the Master Sword through the various past games, which is very interesting. Why would they be doing this? Why are they making this a big deal to show all of these past games and all these different versions of the Master Sword? Well, right now, according to Zelda timeline theorists, this is the last game in the series. Breath of the Wild was the last, and obviously this being the sequel will make this game the last. Tears of the Kingdom is the end, Skyward Sword is the beginning. We get the Master Sword in Skyward Sword as the Goddess Blade and grow it from there, and obviously it flourishes into the Master Sword we know and love throughout the series. But now the Master Sword is corrupted, and based on that text, it also sounds like there's another form of the Master Sword that we have never seen. Maybe an even more powerful and crazy version of the Master Sword, or maybe it's just the new look. And maybe this could continue the timeline in the future for the sword to look like this new style. And we even see maybe some glimpses of what it could look like with some new Zonai technology at the end. But the more I look at this logo and the more I look at different advertisements for this game, it almost feels like the Zelda team is trying to make this game like a big completion of what we have done in every single game so far in Zelda. Like I said, with Skyward Sword being the beginning, and this game possibly being the end of the Zelda timeline before entering a new era. One thing we know is that the Zelda team actually said they wanted to wait to reveal the logo of this game and also the title. Now, within the title, obviously it says Tears of the Kingdom, and I'll get to that in a second, but the logo itself is a symbol of something that could be a lot deeper. And a lot of people have talked about this already, but the symbol of the two dragons forming a circle is actually a Ouroboros. A Ouroboros is a circular symbol depicting a snake, or less commonly a dragon, swallowing its tail as an emblem of wholeness or infinity. So the symbol's meaning is endless cycles. We're going in an endless cycle playing The Legend of Zelda ever since we started at Skyward Sword. Back when Demise cursed Link in Zelda to the fact that he would always come back and regenerate in a different body and in a different form forever, and they would have to continuously take him down in the future, which obviously sets out the path of the rest of the Zelda games. So it got me thinking that maybe this game's main focus has nothing to do with the sky. Maybe everything in the sky is just extra, you know, for the shrines and for actual training grounds for Link, but the main purpose of this game is revisiting and rekindling with the past of the various different Links, going back to locations that made this world so special in the beginning, and maybe that's what Link's big quest is about. Also, remember when Aonuma said that he didn't want to give us the title of the game yet, and he waited so long to do so because it would spoil the game apparently, and then we got Tears of the Kingdom and everybody was like, we still don't know what this game is about. Now, a lot of theorists are guessing that Tears of the Kingdom is actually a manifestation of collecting tears through either dungeons or various methods in order to imbue the power of the Master Sword, and that definitely could be the case. We see 7 tears often throughout the trailers, which could indicate that there are 7 dungeons that we must complete in order to power up the Master Sword to its new full potential. I actually think Tears of the Kingdom is actually more than physical tears that Link collects. I think it's supposed to tell us one of the main things about this game, the Tears of the Kingdom. Now, this might be a stretch, but hear me out. What if Tears of the Kingdom was to resemble all the past kingdoms of Hyrule finally coming to one? The Tears of the Kingdom, remembering the tears of the lost ones that's battled alongside Link and Zelda through their past adventures. It's the tears and the memories of the past kingdoms. It's everything that the kingdom has endured over all these centuries of games. What if this is the reason why we don't see any big things in the overworld right now? Because this would be a huge thing that Nintendo would want to keep close wraps on for as long as they can. This would be the main mechanic. This is the thing that they've been hiding for so long, is that lots of these locations are going to revert back in time to various locations we've seen already throughout past Zelda games, giving us extreme nostalgia as we finish the current Zelda timeline. Let me give you some quick examples. Remember Lon Lon Ranch from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild? It was so cool to see the remnants of this location, and a lot of people just kind of got filled with nostalgia seeing how everything was still in place. There was the broken tower at the top right corner still. Everything looked like it was like literally taken from Ocarina of Time and just broken down for this game. It was beautiful. Now imagine if we had the power to revert this location back to the ranch from Ocarina of Time, because we needed to do so in order to collect something from that time period within this location. Remember, this entire world of Hyrule does have Easter eggs and callbacks to past games, and even within the same locations, like the statue of the goddess from Skyward Sword can still be found in this game. So there are areas that match up with the same areas from past games. So this would be amazing. Let me also remind you that, once again, the Zelda series is no stranger to time travel, and I talked about the past games, but let me also talk about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. The main focus of this game was to tell a side story of an alternate timeline dimension where they actually won that battle 100 years ago, and Link didn't fall, because right before that happened, they were saved by a bot named Terrico, and Terrico was able to bring back the future champions to help the previous ones. And this time travel move is simply what helped save the day and rewrite history in a way. Now, this is an alternate timeline confirmed by Nintendo, so a lot of people might say, what does this have to do with Tears of the Kingdom? Because apparently these events are not canon within this current timeline. Well, maybe this had huge implications for a reason. There's a reason why they wanted to go with this timeline story and this time travel thing, and I think there is a chance that we could see something very familiar with it. What if Terrico starts to show up in Tears of the Kingdom, but he has an entirely different role than he did in that other timeline? Now, it may not be Terrico that causes this, and maybe this is just technology made by someone else like Purah and Robbie, but what if we have the ability to time travel in this game? shoot, maybe the events in Age of Calamity is still canon, but just in a different timeline, and maybe these timelines merge somehow, because at the end of the day, they still win, just in our timeline, Link and Zelda win 100 years later. But what if they both still do the same events in order to lead into Tears of the Kingdom, which could have a nice little crossover in the next game? Or maybe in their timeline, Link and Zelda decide to just not go in the cave system to find Ganondorf, and they just win, and this is it. That would be smart. The ability to open portals in order to collect things throughout time would be amazing, and maybe that's where the tears pop in, or maybe even the dungeons. Maybe various dungeons from the past get to be replayed in this game, but they're a little bit changed and intertwined within the world of Breath of the Wild now, so there's remnants of things that we remember with those dungeons, but also things that we just have no clue what's going on, and they add new things to them as well. Now, I'm not saying this is the end of Zelda games as we know it, I'm just saying that this could be a great game to clip off the timeline and end it on, and maybe get ready to gear up for a whole new timeline of a new series of Zelda games. There's even people that think that this is a clip of Link holding his hand out to the goddess, which is the very first time we'll ever see her throughout Zelda history, which you have no clue how big of a deal it is. Well, of course you have a clue, that's why you're watching this video. It's a big deal. Another thing that I want to point out is those symbols we keep seeing along the fields of Hyrule. And these symbols are huge, like it's a giant chunk of the land covered in these new symbols. I have a theory that maybe these could be symbols to help take that area back in time. So the area we're looking at now may not look the same when we actually get to play the game and do whatever we need to change the locations. So maybe we progressively change the way the Hyrule looks, and we can change it back to different elements of Zelda past. Man, I hope I'm right on this one. This definitely would explain why Nintendo is keeping so much hidden, because this is an absolute major thing that they would probably want to wait until right before the game releases to get people extremely hype about something like this. And it's only a matter of time until we figure out what the big new mechanic is, and if it's just the sky or the caves, or it includes something like time travel. But let me know in the comments down below what you think of this time travel idea. Do you think it would be amazing? Do you think this is what Nintendo's hiding? Are they hiding something else? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to my crazy rambling rants about this game, because that's honestly all we can do right now until we learn more. But let me know your opinions down below. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Nintendo in general, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.